yours?
No.
I found this in your closet.
One of the guys must
have what?
Look, Matt.
Where did you get it?
Matt,
Answer me! Who taught you how to do this stuff?
You, alright? I learned it from watching you!
Nerds who play D&D have friends who play D&D.
You want to play?
Yes, I do.
So, we start off. Okay, 3. Alright, David. Let's wrap this up.
What? But Matthew, the maiden is still trapped in the ogre's tower. Her ring of defense gives +4 across the board to the entire party. If we allow the minions of Derek to seize her and the scroll of Razak!
We just finished building your character. This is not a one-on-one game. More people are coming tomorrow.
And they'll help save the maiden.
Yes. Couch.
We watched a movie today.
13 Demons.
13 Demons. Now, Matthew.
I remember seeing a couple. I don't think I remember seeing 13.
My original thoughts in clicking this were, this is going to be one of those Dungeons and Dragons, oh, the game is bad for you sort of thing.
Was it like Dark Dungeons, I think was the other one?
Whatever the fuck it was. You know the ones that are all like...
JonTron did it a while back.
Just super preachy about, oh, this game is the devil's game. Except...
I don't think that was this.
I'm very torn as to whether or not that
At first, I thought that was what they were going with. Mm-hmm. Like, especially the way that they were kind of like manically, like, we have to play this game. Yeah. We have to play this game. We have to play this game.
Especially because it opened up with them putting this game on top of another tabletop game that they were already playing.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so these people are already a lost cause in the eyes of God.
Well, that's the way that the way that the movie starts. Well, you want to just go through plot?
Sure. All right. So,
because we're ready to just kind of jump into this thing.
The movie starts with them two guys drenched in blood being interrogated for a string of murders. We're then flashed back in media res 2 weeks earlier to well,
no, it was a month.
Whatever. It's 3 guys. I have to assume they're all roommates. I'm not entirely given 100%
Torkul, Ablesworth, and Thomas of Belmont.
I'm going to name the one Thomas, and the other 2 I'm going to name John and Jerry. So,
or you could also just name them player 1, 2, and 3.
That works. So player 3 is Thomas. He's the only one that's kind of different. All right, let me see if I got this right. So Thomas finds a game called 13 Demons. They got from Old Man Argon. Couldn't believe he was giving it away. It's super cool. It's got die-cast metal and all that stuff, but it's really complicated. It's got this massive, like, choose-your-own-adventure book. Yeah. All the dice, all that. And they montage playing this.
And everything smells. Everything has, like fog coming off of it and stuff.
It's really boring to start, but they start to really get into it. Until finally, the point of the game is to kill 13 demons. When it comes time, they've been playing for what feels like, may not have been, but feels like 2 days. They finally get to killing the first demon. But as they do...
It becomes all Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings movie, and it's all these weird silhouetted superimpositions and really weird...
The guy's in full knight's garb. He goes up against this shadow creature in this weird, like, alternate realm sort of thing. It seems like a dream because they all fell asleep right beforehand.
Yeah.
But then they wake up, and there's been a murder in town.
Yeah.
Well, let's keep playing the game.
Let's keep playing the game.
Okay. Oh, I get to kill a demon now. And then the same thing happens, and there's another murder reported.
And then they start saying that you're not worthy of the...
How dare you mispronounce the sacred texts? You have no respect for our quests, Thomas of Berkelsby, whatever the fuck.
Whatever the I am Torok.
Torkul. How did you take my dice?
Well, that was the whole conversation.
So we're gonna get into that, but finally comes time to Thomas's turn, and he's like, "All right, I'm going on my quest." And this is the first time that we see what their quest actually is.
Because this is roughly about what, like
this is about
halfway through the film. It would finally you start seeing the reality of the situation of what they're doing.
And so what they are doing is they're dressing up in basically everything they find in their kitchen cupboards, just taped to them. And they go out and they slay a demon, which they see as a demon, but is actually a dude or a chick or a 5-year-old kid, apparently. We get to that.
They reminded us so many times.
Thomas comes up on a garage where a guy's just working on a car, and he's like, "Face me, foul demon!" It's like, dude, we're closed. Fuck off.
Yeah.
He's like, "You can go.
I just want to go home.
Go and suck your mother's teat in Hades, you foul wench." And it's like, what the fuck did you say?
Your mother sucks cocks in hell.
And when they stand there, ready, round 1,
fight.
And then
one hit, both of them go down. And also, by the way, that was a fucking rubber mallet.
A rubber mallet against a tire iron. The garage guy
and that rubber mallet is covered in blood. Guys, I'm sorry. You could have easily used like an actual sledgehammer instead of just a rubber mallet.
The other guy, the one guy, Torkool or whatever, used a stick. And the other guy used a pipe. I'm willing to give the pipe some leeway, but the stick...
Like, the stick, you have to really... I mean, I can buy the stick, if it's a strong enough stick, but also at the same time, if you're using it, like, if he's using it more as a stabbing object, then that's one thing, but I don't think he was.
No.
Because
he was slashing.
Yeah, and the pipe makes sense. The pipe's a pipe.
Yeah, pipe is used as a weapon in Clue. It can kill someone.
Yeah.
So the... Finally, like, they get back to the game and it's reported, like, more murders, whatever is the cause of this. And it finally shows that the remaining 2 guys, Torkool and Abersworth, what the fuck ever. They are now completely into this game. They have nothing else. Ablesworth. They are now completely into this game. They are absorbed entirely, and they're like, we must defeat the 13 demons. But then they come across the realization that, like, they believe the other to be impure and to be the final demon that they have to slay. So they come to this war, and they have to fight by very detailed explanation of what they're doing and rolling for initiative. We don't see them do these things. They just stare. I know this is out of focus, sorry, but they're just, I fight the demon, and then I fight the wizard, and he goes into the thing, and then he does the thing with it,
and then the voices change octaves, and it sounds all creepy and crazy and stuff.
It is absolutely the stupidest stuff. But finally, they get into the...
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed how it was shot, but again, we'll get to that. They finally get into, like, the dream realm, and it seems like they're about ready to fight, but then police cars pull up, and then we get back to the interrogation room, where we get a solid 5 minutes of, you've killed like 13 people, one of which is a 5-year-old kid, and it's like, no, I've killed demons. And it's like, it's a game.
It's not a game.
It's a game. It's a game. It's a game.
And it goes on and on and on. And then it cuts to a different portion of the scene, and then it continues on and on and on.
Well, that was the...
Yeah, no, because like
they went to the interrogation.
Well, no, you had like this part and whatnot where it's kind of like melding the fantasy scene with that portion. So you have all of that. I'm like, okay, I got the gist of that. And then they cut to the actual scene and then repeated all of the shit. And it's like I was telling David while we were watching that part is the fact that it felt like the contradiction sketch from Monty Python, because that's exactly what it is. Yep. It was nothing but just constantly saying yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, duck season, rabbit season, like
pretty much. But the only other thing that I really skipped over was the fact that as they're giving their really detailed explanations or whatever, as they come to the end of their explanation, they say like, I must roll 5 or so to do whatever, and then they just like look at the dice and it moves and their pieces move. So it's like, are they
infused with power?
Is this actually a thing? Because they explain in the background during their like training montage basically that this game
was banned like 30 years ago.
Was banned like 30 years ago because of the exact same thing happening. Yeah. So it's not like Jumanji where nobody knows about this shit.
Yeah. This had come out.
Yeah.
And they also referenced Jumanji at one point. It's like, well, what kind of Jumanji thing is this? But my whole thing is, when we start getting into that portion of it, is that this has become more of a thing for me in recent years than anything else, is that I got a problem with inconsistent world rules. That I'm fine. I am willing to completely believe the context in which the world that you were building is willing to happen in the context of the movie. That's the only way you're able to like watch a fantasy film and be able to take anything seriously. It's like you have like, all right, I understand that this is what encompasses the world in what you're trying to tell me here. But the problem with that is, in the very beginning, it gives this impression that something involving the game is sinister, that one, the game never becomes. You never feel that this game has like a mystical presence in a way.
No,
it's not like
the
Jumanji.
Fog. The fog is like the only thing that like hints it at the beginning, but then nothing.
Well, at the end, the fog never comes back.
Yeah.
The only thing else that you can tell that something's wrong is that the characters are always constantly drenched in sweat. Like, that's it. Like, they're just always. I'm like, I felt like the entire shoot they were just going around with a water bottle, just. All right, are you moist? All right, let's continue on. And well, I mean, it's going right into the script itself.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think a lot of the script was even written.
Yeah, okay, so here's my thing.
I think it's very improvised.
Yeah, going off of what you said though with the hard world rules sort of thing.
Yeah.
This movie's weird because it's one of those things where it's like, is it a mystical board? Are they just obsessive players?
Are they just crazy?
I mean, the fact that this happened 30 years ago leads credence to the fact that it is the board, because why would the same thing happen, like, twice?
Yeah.
So that leads to mystical board. But on the other side, nothing is really shown like, they do a full montage of them playing this game and just looking like they're having a generally good time doing so.
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing where it's like...
They keep bringing up the fact that, like, what they're smelling, like if there's, like, kind of, like, this something that's in the board game that makes people go crazy.
That makes it seem like it's not mystical or just them. They make it seem
there's
like...
something physically wrong.
Like it was published in, like, a fungus or something.
Yeah.
That the spores just infect your brain.
Yeah, but... The problem is, at the very end of that completely negates everything that happens because, all right, either one of two things could possibly be happening in that ending scene. One, that there's actually some, like, supernatural powers that are making, like, the dice flip and the pieces
and
move.
we do see when they first start it, they, like, set down the piece and it, like, snaps into position.
Yeah.
So they're like, whoa, what's this Jumanji shit?
So it could be magnetic. But also at the same time, though, the pieces never have that type of, like, adherence to it after that because you just move it wherever you want to move it. Mm-hmm. There's one part where it infers that a piece was moved over the bridge and stuff like that.
After they killed the first demon.
Yeah. But... Other than that, and the second part of the ending is the fact that this might just be in their head still, but it doesn't allow anything to build for either one of those options.
Yeah, it's so intent on making it ambiguous that it doesn't give you anything to go off of.
Yeah, you don't want. It's not even the fact that they. Well, let me rephrase. It definitely they wanted to keep it ambiguous. I definitely feel that, but they kept it ambiguous to a point in which that you get. It's not like Jumanji. It's not like Jumanji where a couple of wide-eyed kids like, oh, we found a board game. Oh, it might be magnetic. Oh, this is kind of cool and whatnot. This one is played by adults. Now, regardless of what you have to say about the intelligence of the characters at the beginning of the movie, I feel that also this movie is like a huge hit at stoners. Because, at least at the very beginning. But at the same time, it doesn't really play much of a part. They refer to it later on, especially the cops. They later refer to that type of shit. But other than that, it's a byproduct. That's one of the reasons why in the very beginning I'm like, oh, this is going to be a moral movie. Yeah. But by the end of it, I'm like, I don't really think so.
Before this movie even began,
and also
before the production,
we'll talk about the director.
Before the production logos even, this thing had a disclaimer saying like, the views expressed within this thing do not necessarily represent the blah 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 blah. So, like, we were like, the only other time that we've really seen this shit is, like, in front of the 700 Club on ABC Family. So it's like, is this going to be, like, a really Christian moral thing?
Well, that's one of the things I was thinking, but also, like, the only time that I ever see, really, that is, like, the views in this are expressed, are not necessarily this, is when people have commentaries or something like that. So I'm like, are we watching a commentary-laced movie right now?
And, like, that we went into the subtitles, there were no commentary options, so fucking... Who knows? Anyway, the one thing I wanted to go on, though, the script, because you were talking about how nothing in this seems written. I I disagree to the point where I believe that the first...
I didn't say nothing. I said there's a lot of it that doesn't
I
feel
believe
right.
that the first line in each scene was written. And then they were like, all right, so this needs to be an hour and a half long movie. We have 12 scenes, so each scene, doing the math here real quick, needs to come out to be like about 5 minutes, 8 minutes long. So just repeat that one line until you reach the end of 5 to 8 minutes.
Which we also here like to call something the Uli Lamel treatment, because that's literally what he did.
But this is extremely egregious.
No, the one thing is, it's funny because now that I'm bringing the Uli Lamel comparisons in my head, Uli Lamel, rest in peace. But at the same time, though, you still were a shitty filmmaker. I don't care if you worked with Fassbender. But at the same time, his movies constantly, or at least the latter ones, were constantly hallmarked by him taking probably a couple minutes worth of footage and repeating it and overlapping it and warping it several times over to make a feature-length film. This is not that. This is not that.
Diary of a Cannibal. Click it.
This is not that, because what he did in those movies was that he took a little bit of existing material and stretched it. This one does that exact type of taking little material and stretching it, but they do it in the actual scene.
It's not taking the script, it's not taking what footage you have and stretching it. It's filming enough footage that you can then just
consider it a feature.
Yeah.
And so it's constantly, people are repeating what they're saying over and over again. Now, a couple times this is fine. Like, was it, or at least to a point.
Yeah.
Like, the first time one of the characters, the one who becomes Ablesworth, he was like, this is a really good game. This is a really good game. Oh, this is a good game. This is a really good game. This is a good game. This is a really good game. This is
every single time.
Really good game. This is a really good game.
Is it a good game?
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 Like, I don't really necessarily blame the actors for that, because honestly, and I've read some of the reviews for this movie on IMDb and stuff like that, and I honestly feel that a lot of people are a little too hard on the actors.
Oh, no.
Because I honestly feel that given the context of what they're doing, which is primarily what I feel. I could be wrong. If the director and everybody else out there, we'll get to him in a moment, but the director and anybody else out there would like to correct us, please do. I don't mind being corrected. But the fact of the matter is, though, for the most part, this feels like it was a mix between ad-libbing and reading off of a compendium of Dungeons and Dragons scenarios.
During that the montage scene, it was just a Rorschach of throw in all the fantasy words you can think
possibly
of,
muster,
and we get one shot.
Get
on
the
each
enchanted
person.
this, bring it to
the golden that,
and give it to this person, the wise women of the wood or whatever,
the orcish whatever. And it's just there was a solid. I would
somebody
say,
played the Elder Scrolls.
Was that a solid 5-minute scene? Would you say?
Yeah,
of just montage of them just saying these things.
There's a lot of just scenes that play out like montages in general.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because that gets us into the technical aspects of two things I want to really kind of touch on. One is the production design. I actually think the production design is pretty damn decent. I like the design of the apartment that we spend pretty much the entire movie in.
Yeah.
And it does what it needs to do, and also the fact that, even though the lighting and coloring was overly dramatic to a fault, it still was entertaining to me.
Yeah.
It still kept my attention. It still kept my eye trained on it. But the second part was that... what was it? Oh, that the cinematography, there was I'm split on that, because one, the shots in and of themselves are not bad at all. As a matter of fact, actually, I think the cinematography is one of the better parts of this. The problem being, there's not a whole lot of it.
The scene where they are unfolding the box...
And it's not like minimalist stuff here.
The scene where they're unfolding the box for the first time, it was a good 3-4 minute long scene. It had 4 shots.
4 shots.
And that's not saying one shot for a minute, another shot for a minute. They were constantly cutting, but only between 4 shots.
And they were all fixed cameras. Now,
it was one person's face, another person's face, another person's face, and then 2 of the people at once.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was all there was.
And maybe I'm being a little bit snobbish when it comes to this, but at the same time, though, I've always felt that it's that I don't necessarily feel was done entirely just for economical standpoints. I don't really feel. And this gets into the director here. So the director is Daniel Filicki. Classic Filicki.
Oh, Filicki.
He plays
Player 3 Thomas.
Player 3 Thomas, yes. He wrote and directed this movie, and he is primarily an actor from what it looks like, but at the same time, though, he has directed many films.
I think he acts in his own films.
He does, but he's acted in more of his films that or at least on IMDb, because so I can't necessarily speak for everything that the guy has done, but he's, from what I've been able to deduce from him, he does at least 3 or 4 films a year that are all these kind of low-rent horror films that are all these basic reruns of genre pictures.
God, I forgot this was in horror.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
I genuinely forgot this was in horror.
Wow, I forgot too, which is kind of... That kind of says something about that.
That might just be the Netflix categorization system.
Maybe.
Because this really should have been under, like, sci-fi fantasy.
Seriously.
Maybe.
Yeah, or, yeah, so, like, at least fantasy or something like that.
Like, every single thing I want to put it under, because it's not really a fantasy, it's just guys playing a board game, but it's not horror because there's nothing really scary.
Yeah, and also you have to realize, too, that the poster is obviously mocking the Warcraft poster.
I wouldn't even say mocking.
Mimicking. Mimicking. Why am I saying mocking? Right. I don't know, I'm weird. But it's like, it's mimicking the Warcraft poster because it came out the same year.
It was definitely a time for that. So for me,
well, hold on a second. The last thing I want to say is Daniel Filicki is the fact that he wrote, directed this, he starred in it. This obviously was entirely controlled by him for the most part. That, ironically enough, and he the editor Jim Kraft also has edited a bunch of his movies. It just doesn't feel very inspired. It feels like, all right, this is happening now. We're going to get it. It feels very factory line type of movie. At least Uli Lamel's movies, regardless of how bad they were, they also had some type of character to them.
What?
Yeah, and Uwe Boll is the same way, but I don't rank him in that. I just kind of feel his filmmaking is a little bland.
For me...
No offense.
Now that I'm thinking of it in terms of like a horror, it's much weirder. I'm going to try to go back to a previous mindset. When it comes down to this movie, with the scripting, definitely is a major issue of just the constant repeating. But when down to cinematography, and because I'm trying to list off everything that Filicki did here,
and the acting was pretty decent.
The acting, yeah, okay. So I'll say that.
We went to the acting already too, but so
yeah, the acting was, despite not given much of anything, like. When I say they had to repeat a line like 800 times, they did have to repeat a line like 800 times. But they never felt like on the 800th take they were like, did you steal my dice? No, they had it raise and raise and raise. They put in the effort to it. But it's just like...
The steps were very small.
If I were to give an actor the task of, you have to do this movie, but you can only say, I'd like a PB&J sandwich... You can do that and get to a certain point, and the actor will feel good, like, okay, I've escalated this scene to as far as I can using that line. But the script says, go for another 2 minutes. And it's like...
I've given you all that I could.
I will continue, but it will move into either campy or stupid territory. And that's where this went to.
Every time.
There are several scenes, the ones that we bring out the most egregious were the fact of the sniffing for whatever reason. There's a scene about did you steal my dice? And then he found out that
fucking my wife. You fucking my wife.
I feel like that's where the scene was supposed to be going, and like that sort of mindset where it's like, oh, tensions are rising within the group, but it's like, dude, you lost your dice. Like, I mean, you clearly play more tabletop games.
Well, also,
go get another dice.
I mean, also, like, I get the fact that you know it's part of the game, like it was being influenced and all that kind of stuff. Because
the whole thing was that he just chewed that guy out for mispronouncing words. Or something like that.
You don't sell whatever you're trying to sell. Because again, we are like some of the scenes also are edited so confusingly that I had no idea what the fuck is going on.
The very first scene, the interrogation scene. We watched this with your fiance, Kat.
Yes.
Kat
loves boxes.
Me and Kat both thought that they were interrogating one guy. But Matt was adamant that there were 2 of them. And we were like, no, that's not right. There's definitely only one. Because they looked exactly the same, matted in blood, and talking to the exact same people.
Yeah, in the exact same spot.
But They
with
call
the exact same
themselves,
shots.
in the very beginning, they called themselves different names, and we're like, oh, well, he just goes by multiple titles. That's whatever.
Yeah.
But then I checked the thing, and it was Ablesworth and Turok, whatever. Whatever his name is. But it was like...
Tarkua.
It was so confusing, because it was terribly... Like, it wasn't lit very well, despite the fact that... That was okay, pet peeve time. Me and Matt both have this. Interrogation rooms. People who, like, are shooting an interrogation room.
They're not that dark.
They keep the lights on so that you, A, can't see out the one-way mirror, and B, make the subject uncomfortable with how bright it is.
Guys, come on.
Yeah, anyway.
It doesn't even look that dramatic either.
No, it's just that single swinging light bulb. It's just like,
it's the noir thing.
Where are the other drugs going, Wachowski? But, no, when it comes to... Should I just do final thoughts?
Yeah.
For me, this movie, we got into a conversation midway through of how short films are not a marketable thing.
Yeah.
And how this movie had so much padding to it that it, honest to God, would be edited down to a short film and be much more enjoyable.
At least it would be under an hour.
But it wouldn't be marketable. So I feel like that's its biggest sin, is the fact that they just stretched this thing to its absolute limit in the way of scripting and what you actually had. If you were to take a couple extra scenes of, like, building up to the reveal that they're actually killing people, you might have been able to pad some more time there. But we were obviously shown, like, the first time that they woke up to a murder, that it's like, no, that's definitely them doing
Yeah,
this.
that's not an if.
That's not an if. Take some more time with that until you're like, okay, they are doing it, and here's the reveal of us showing it in the real life sort of thing. Yeah. But no, it was obvious that they actually killed those people. He didn't steal the dice.
He didn't steal the dice.
We get that after a minute and a half. If you want to build attention. We also know, actually, you know what? I'm a bit unsure. Matt, was it a game?
It wasn't a game.
It is a game.
It wasn't a game.
It is a game.
I think it wasn't a game.
It is.
It might be a game.
Fuck that. No, just keep that shit down, man. It's so like, I get what you were going for. A big dramatic thing at the end. He's building up. He's like, it's not just a game.
Yeah.
But when that's your last line, and we've heard it 800 times before you go to credits, it loses its punch.
Just a little bit. It's a little bit weak.
All in all, I would say the acting in this is fine. I didn't have a problem with the locations. Even though we spent the whole thing in one spot, it was fine because that's the tabletop game. That's that's how it's supposed to be. But when it comes down to the actual writing-wise, this thing was like 6 pages stretched out to 60, and that's not okay.
Yeah. I mean, my whole thing is, and it's pretty much the exact same deal. I did enjoy certain parts of this because I play D&D, and you know, I understand the appeal of it. I thought that this was it had the symptoms of something that could have been really fun to do with this type of deal. Yeah, but you could have what it felt like you were going for here was kind of like a Ouija inspired tabletop game version, where it's not like Dark Dungeons where it's like people like, oh, I want to step it up to LARPing and let's kill people and stuff like that.
Jumanji meets Possession.
Yeah, it's like, but at the same time though, it didn't follow through with any of these things. Now, of course, I'm not expecting much from a low budget genre movie because you go in expecting exactly what it says on the title. Yeah. So 13 Demons. We more or less got that.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, I can't really say much else. I figured that pretty much it's just going to be a forgettable movie. I will say that there was a few shots and a few line reads that I did thoroughly enjoy, but other than that, I just don't care anymore.
Good ending. All right, and those were our thoughts on 13 Demons.
Hey, David. What's up, man?
16, yes. All right, I have the orcs trapped in a dungeon. All you need to do is come in from the west with a fireball, and we can steal the scroll of Razak back.
David, I think you're taking this game a little too seriously.
Game? What do you mean game? This is not a game.
It is a game.
It is not a game.
It's pretty much a game.
No, not a game.
Fine, it's not a game.
Now you listen up because I'm not going to repeat myself again. You say it's not a game, I say it is a game, and that's that!
Cool.
Wait!
Made possible by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.